Okay, got it. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I want to share my screen. So today we'll be focusing on design thinking.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. All right. Share screen. Why is my screen not showing? I'm having issues sharing my screen. Okay, I've seen it. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes,
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about design thinking. But before we proceed, let me introduce myself. My name is Tolu Abu. I'm a product designer, and I'll be teaching you guys on design thinking. So before we start any discussion on this topic, can 5 persons explain to me, or rather just give me a short definition of UX? You can understand that we did introduction to UX last class. So 5 persons should give what they understand by UX. Can someone help me pick? If people raise your hand, please, because of coordination. So you raise your hand, and someone should help me pick each, because I don't think I can see that side of the screen. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I think we have one hand raised. Yes, Isaac, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so my own idea of UX. So UX is like a overview of the user perspective of a product. So you want to design a product, so you have to know what the users want. It's not just about the design or the color, how beautiful your product is, but it's about how your users will interact with your product. How will they understand your product without being frustrated or confused? What are your call actions? How you place your call action for your users to understand better without having to start Googling it or asking people that what is this, that it's just more about a user flow, like navigation, clicking of buttons and all of that. So, and then it's about knowing your user pain point. What is the problem that you are trying to solve? How are you going to solve it? So UX is more based on the user's perspective, not just the goal of the app, not just the beauty of your app or how arrange your app. It's just how to make your users understand the product you are building. That's my understanding of it.
All right, thank you, Isaac. That's a good one. Abdul Hakim. Abdul Hakim, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
What I understand by UX is just how somebody, a user, relates with a product. Just in a simple term, how a user relates with a product, like how the person feels about when interacting or an experience about the product. So that's what I think in a simple term is about.
Okay, that was very concise and very, very detailed. Actually, in simple terms, that's what UX means. Olorunda, Debbie, can you hear me?
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
UX is about the user's interaction or experience with a product or service.
All right, that's very perfect. Goodness, I think that'll be the last person.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Okay, from my understanding, I think UX is basically how a design feels and how a design works.
Right. I think that is what we're going to take because of time. You guys gave very, very good definitions. It shows that you guys actually paid attention in class and you actually read the materials. So that is good to see. Nonetheless, I will just show us this for those that maybe are trying to catch up. In simple terms, UX simply means user experience, and user experience simply means designing products, interfaces, or systems in such a way that they enhance the experience of users. Like simply, that's what it means. I mean, it's the same with what everybody has seen anyway, but this is it in simple terms. And if you want to get a more broad definition, you can go with definition by Jason Ogo, where he says that UX design is an empathically driven practice crafted to solve human business problems and remove obstacles and friction from a user's desired goals, hopefully delivering delight in the process. So basically, UX design is focused on user experience, how the user feels while using the product, and solving problems. All right, so that's just like a recap from last week. Let's now go into like the main dish for today. So here's the main dish for today. We're talking about design thinking. So in simple terms, design thinking is an iterative process that follows a human-centered approach to solving problems. So the reason for that word iterative is because design thinking is very, very repetitive. The process is repetitive. You don't just go through the process and end it. I mean, you could go through all the process and you find yourself coming back to the first stage, right? So that's the reason why you use the word iterative. So design thinking is a very, very, very important use in UI UX. In fact, not just UI UX, but in various industries. Truth is, design thinking didn't even start with the whole UI UX industry. It has always existed way before. So it's a concept that almost all 21st century companies are trying to incorporate. Even in universities today, you find design thinking as a course, you find it even as a discipline. So design thinking is very, very important in various sectors because it's very good in solving problems. Basically, design thinking helps you to break down complex situations, which is why they consider it very valuable for solving problems and providing solutions. So design thinking this is what design thinking does for you. Let's say you are given a product to design or a problem to solve. No matter how complex your problem is, what design thinking does is that it helps you break it into smaller bits for you to get the better picture. Let's use the definition. Design thinking helps you to realize what truly is and isn't. So in other news, design thinking gives you clarity. With design thinking, you can break down whatever hypotheses you might have gotten, maybe through research or whatever. Design thinking helps you break it down into bits, like bits that are easy to understand. So it's those bits that you bring together that actually helps you, have a better thought process while trying to solve a problem or provide a solution. So design thinking helps you to realize what truly is and isn't. The process employed are designed in such a way that they cause us to have a better understanding of our users, scrutinize their assumptions, and redefine the problem. So just like I mentioned earlier, the design thinking likes to follow a human-centered approach. Just like UX means user experience. So design thinking helps you to focus on the user while trying to solve your problems. So it's not like you're just bringing up hypotheses or theories. Rather, design thinking helps you to see things from your user's point of view. It's very, very user-centric. It's consumer-centric. You're focused on the individual you're trying to solve problems for. So design thinking helps you to see things the way your user is going to your user see things. So what design thinking does for us is that it teaches us empathy, right? It helps us be in the shoes of our users. And in truth, there's no better way to solve a problem than actually feeling, in quotes, the pains of your users, right? So the design thinking processes helps us to see things from the point of view of our users. So we are going to did someone just call my name?
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So from that, let's now dive into the design thinking process. So these are the processes that are involved for us to actually actualize the old design thinking we're talking about. You have to go through this process to actually actualize design thinking itself. So design thinking process can be divided into 5 phases. We have empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So let's start with empathize. So the empathize stage is where you try to understand your users. This is actually a very, very crucial stage, because this is where you get all the information, whether the ones you need or the ones you don't need. This is actually where you get all the information you need, and you get this typically through research. So by empathizing, you get to set aside your assumptions and you get to see things from the user point of view. Because the truth is, it's not about what you think, it's really up to them. So you try your best not to be biased, you try to be objective, you are open-minded when in this empathize stage. And like I said earlier, to actually go through this empathize stage, you have to carry out research. And we have, typically research is done, can be grouped into 2. That is qualitative and quantitative research. Who is on my screen? All right, so typically research can be grouped into 2, quantitative and qualitative research. Let me just define what user research. User research involves an actual connection with your users or target market, where you get to gain insight into their world. So it helps us understand our users' needs and motivations. It's just like the same thing I've been saying earlier. Basically, user research is where the connection between you and your users are actually established. That's actually when you get to see your users in various lights and, in the truth that you need to actually actualize your the steps that you need to solve the problem. So as stated earlier, user research involves various methods, and these methods can be qualitative or quantitative. Now, what is qualitative research? Qualitative research is direct and descriptive. It looks more at how people think and feel. It helps us to understand, to find out your users' opinions, problems, reasons, and motivations. It could take various forms like contextual observation, ethnographic studies, interviews, field studies, and usability testing. Basically, qualitative research is like the typical interview that you do with people. The truth is, you see, when we go for normal job interviews, right, where maybe the HR is interviewing you, blah, blah, blah. That is actually a typical qualitative research method. So you're with your user and you're conducting like a one-on-one interview with the potential user. Yes, it's potential user. Yeah. So you're conducting actual interview with your potential user. So you guys, you are talking back and forth. You ask questions. You ask many why questions. So in quantitative research, in research generally, there's a lot of why, how, and what. Like why are you doing this? Why did this happen? Like that, like you go deep and deep and deep into the whys. So let's say, for instance, you want to solve a solution, or you want to understand a situation whereby maybe people have issues getting into the bus on time. Maybe you want to solve the problem of long queues, right, for a bus. So maybe you try to interview maybe some Lagosians, you try to interview people that use the bus, maybe working class people. So you try to understand why there's this long queues, or maybe too much time wasted in entering buses. So you start interviewing people one by one, right? Maybe you ask questions like the truth is, you ask questions that look like they're not connected, but they are connected. Maybe, okay, what time do they wake up? How is their typical day like? So you start connecting with each other, right? Before you know, you start realizing that, okay, maybe the reason why they were entering late is because of the time the time they wake up. And now the reason why maybe they have to wake up early is because there's traffic. So all the questions you're asking, all the why, leads you to the actual this is the actual answer you're looking for, or rather brings out all the problems never even knew existed. That's how you start to connect the dots and realize what is really in it for them. So the truth is, qualitative research helps you to get a lots of answers, because you are digging deep into a lot of whys. So qualitative research, however, is very different from quantitative research. Quantitative research is like what you see with surveys, questionnaires. You see all these Google Forms now, where they will send you Google Forms and they ask you questions, they will generate the data. That is what quantitative research is all about. Whereas quantitative research is with numeric data and statistics. So it measures, right? While qualitative actually observes, because it's qualitative. You can see your user, you can see how they use things. For instance, there's this form I mentioned, field studies and contextual observation. So with contextual observation, you can observe your user why they use a certain product in their environment. That's why it's called context. So you try to observe your users in their own environment. That's for qualitative, please. So let's say you want to see how users actually maybe use a desk. Maybe you are trying to solve the problem of maybe ergonomics. This is, maybe the use of their chairs in the office, maybe the way they use their chairs. They're trying to solve that problem. So you go to the office of maybe one of your potential users, and you see the way they sit, you see the distance between the chair they are using right now and their table. What is the problem? Like it's one thing for them to see this is what they are facing. It's another thing for you to observe. That is the beauty of contextual observation and field studies. It helps you to not just hear what your users are saying, but it helps you to see their plight, right? So now with what quantitative now does in this regard, the difference between both is, for instance, you can say, let me use this example. Qualitative says, okay, during the user testing, it was observed that some of the participants had to reread the first paragraph on the landing page before they understand the message. While quantitative says that the average time spent on the checkout page is 17.3 seconds. So this is the difference here. Qualitative is observing something. It's saying that, okay, let's say you went to do a testing or a research or an interview where the user is maybe trying to read a paragraph on a landing page. You can only draw out hypotheses than actual measured data, right? You can only draw a hypothesis that, okay, this person is finding it difficult to read this first paragraph, or this person, let's say 1 + 1, 2 + 2, person use like 10 seconds or something. But the qualitative, this stuff, it is measured. You get to realize that this person used 17.3 seconds reading this page. You will see typically sometimes when you go on some pages, maybe on a blog post, you will see reading time 5 minutes. That is data. What qualitative is hypothesis. So the beauty of quantitative research is it is very unbiased, because you are not included in quotes. It's not based on what you think. It's mostly based it's just the user this time around. For instance, if I create a Google form and I send it to a user, like, okay, how often do you do this? If like I have 50 people that filled that form, and 40 of them wrote maybe often, the other one wrote rarely. Indirectly, I have 90% of them actually use this particular product often. Now that is data, that is something that is measured, that is numbers. But with it's qualitative, you get to know, okay, why did they now use this? So that is the beauty of mixing both of them together. There's no such thing as, oh, one is better than the other. Both have to come into play. With qualitative, you get to understand why there is this number. Okay, quantitative may give you, oh, this person used 17.3 seconds or 17 minutes to check out from this page. But qualitative will now ask the question, okay, why did they use 17.3 minutes on this page? So you get to actually understand why. And the beauty of adding qualitative with your research methods is that you also now get to realize how to solve the problem. So now you can now see that both qualitative and quantitative research are so good that you can't, I won't advise that you take one out for the other. It's best to use both of them, because while one is giving you numbers and measuring and data for you, the other is giving you the why behind the data and giving you insights to how to solve the problem. So it's important that you use both of them for, better insights. So I think that's where I will stop for research, because I think your next class is going to be on user personas, and you're going to need maybe how to draw out personas from research, your ideation, blah, blah, blah. So these are going to stop for now on research. Let's move to the next. Okay, yeah, let me make this point. Now that I've understood, I don't know, let me ask a question first. Am I rushing? Like, are you guys in line with what I'm saying? You can just like raise your hands if you are following. You don't have to say anything. Okay, so I think I will continue. All right, thank you. All right, so still on user research. As much as everything is quantitative or qualitative, the truth is everything still boils down to two approaches: attitudinal and behavioral. Attitudinal is simply what do people say, and behavioral is what do people do. So it's just the same with everything I've been saying so far. This is a very good chart for that. Behavioral, what do people do? Attitudinal, what people say. So this one is saying how much and how many. Oh, they use 70 minutes on this landing page. This guy's asking, okay, why and how to fix it. So this is just to show you guys how important these two approaches are to bringing about your solution. Now, the next phase is define. All right, so the define stage, this is where you now gather all the things you've gotten from research, all the information, whether the ones that look crazy to you or not don't look crazy, you shall gather them together. This is when you now start breaking down them into bits. And this is the beauty of this design thinking process. You get like so much information on a normal day. So much information should overwhelm you, right? But with this design thinking process, taking things each like in steps, in salient stages, you get to find it easy. Like it makes it somewhat easy to tackle that, plenty information. So you now start breaking them down. This is where you actually get all your how might we solve this? How might we how might we make user A to how might we reduce the distance between point A and point B for user A to get to his destination? This is where you start breaking down all the information that you've gotten. Right, this is where you start breaking all the information that you've gotten from your research. All right, I think I want to ask a question on research, because it's like I'm supposed to ask a question. That's true. Let me ask a question before I go further, because I kind of feel like I'm rushing, even though you guys said I'm not rushing. Aregefe, do you have a question? Your hand is up. Overare, can you hear me? All right, does anyone have a question, though? Does anyone have a question so far, what I've said? Okay, I think Goodness has a question. Goodness, please shoot.
Okay. I wanted to ask, before you design something, will you have to go through this process every time you want to work on something? Because it's looking like it's taxi and big and all that.
All right, so typically, the truth is, you should go through this process. But if we're being honest, there are cases where you end up not starting from research. I mean, we have so many companies that never did research. But they still went back to the research. That's why I said it is okay. I didn't mention that it is not a linear approach. Like it's not a linear process. The design thinking process is not linear at all. It is. I mean, you can start from empathy, then jump to prototype. You come back in from prototype, go back to your empathy again. or you do empathy, you do define, you do all the 4 stages, only for you to find yourself going back again to empathy. So it's not a linear approach, but the truth is typically, like, in fact, more often than not, you have to go through this process to get the right answers, the right problem statement, and it's let me mute. Let me mute this person. Okay, thank you. All right, so you have to go through, like, it's not a must that you must go through all those processes. The truth is, typically you will go through it. But if I'm being honest with you, it's not all cases that this happens. You find some companies actually like just go into the market field and launch. Then in launching, that is where they now do their actual research. So they get to see how people interact with their products. So by seeing how people interact with their products, they now start making their iterations. People do it a lot. I mean, that's why some people, they'll say they want to release their MVPs. They've never tested in the market. They don't use that MVP to test in the market. It's the same with creating prototypes. Like, that's the beauty of prototypes anyways. Some people go ahead and create prototypes. Like, they don't do the actual developed stage of the design. They just give up prototypes to the public and they test. They don't go through this phase. But the truth is, typically you should go through this phase in order to reduce cost. The beauty of going through these phases is that it reduces cost a lot as compared to when you really launched your product. You now go back again, all the costs that you've accrued, you have to start going through all those pain of losses, blah blah blah. So typically I advise that you go through each and every phase than just launching. But yeah, it's very possible not to go through this phase, but you still come back to it one way or the other. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
All right. Biasat, please shoot.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, she already asked my question, so I think I'm clear.
Oh, all right. Karim.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Karim.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to ask, is there a chance we have a terminology to describe these 2 category of approaches?
Which 2 categories? The one I just said.
Yeah, and the earlier one, like going through the sequence and maybe skipping the first step and then reverting to the research phase. Is there a terminology to categorize them?
Well, I don't know if there's like a category for both, but like what I said, whether you skip research at first or not, you will always go back to it somewhat. So it's not about even categorizing it. It always happens. That I said, it is not a linear approach. And I gave that example where, let's say you launch your product, you launch your MVP. A user uses that MVP, right? Why that user using that MVP? The truth is, you're also carrying out research. You're trying to see. I mean, I've not seen a product that wants to stay the same. They always try to improve. And they do just improve by improving sake. They improve from insights. And you gather insights from the way your users use your products. So you can gather insights. I mean, that's why you have Google Play Store. When you go to Google Play Store, you see lots and lots of comments. So many industries you are seeing today, they gather insights from those comment sessions and they improve. They gather insights from complaints on Twitter and they improve. So it can come from anywhere. That's why I said that even when you jump all these phases, you still go back to them. Even without realizing that we do it, we actually do go back to them. So research is not you're sitting down with somebody and it's beyond that. So yeah, hey, use on my board. All right, Oduyoye Abdulatif.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
So this is what I want to ask. I do graphic design.
Okay.
So in graphic design, before you start probably any project, probably you want to be very creative. Probably check design inspirations before you start. Do you get? So I think the game is changing in UI and UX because you are talking about taking research, and in some cases, I don't know if it is possible you also take design inspirations. And when you are done with a prototyped design, you can now make a research of that design. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So even in UI UX, you see that taking inspiration from someone, it's still research. When you go on Google to check existing products of what you want to design, it's still research. because you actually went to look for something that is existing that you think can also fit for what you're trying to create. Research doesn't have to just be, oh, I called someone. Why did you do this? What happened? What did you do? Blah, blah. Research is beyond that. When you go to look for inspiration, you're doing research. When you go on Google to check existing products, you're doing research. When you do competitive analysis, you're still doing research. So all of those things research can come in so many forms. Okay, so it's still research. Even the taking inspiration from Dribble is research. And yes, this question you asked about, okay, when I finished, okay, creating something that looks in line with what was like with what I saw on Dribble, can I still go back? It's still the same thing I've been saying about the stuff being non-linear. You can always go back to any stage of the design thinking process. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, so I think I can continue. Okay, sorry. Did I finish define? Yeah, so basically what I say about define is that the define stage is when you break down all the information you got from your research, and and get to see what is and what isn't in quotes. I mean, it's not totally that stage. It's mostly that actually comes in your ideation stage. That's when you actually get to start putting down your ideas. But the beauty of this define stage is that you get to know what we are looking like, what we should face. There's something someone taught me. I think he called it your proteins and your vitamins. So your proteins are what you need. Your vitamins are your what did you call it? Nice to have. Yes. So after when you enter your divine stage, you can now start picking out those information and you can group them, yes, and start grouping them into the category that they fall. Okay, this information is fit for this question. This information is fit for this question. This information is fit for this question. So that is the beauty of the define stage. It helps you to actualize what you're actually trying to solve. How might we fix this and blah blah blah. So now the ideation stage. This is the stage where you brainstorm on your ideas. You brainstorm on all the things that you gathered from the define stage. You start brainstorming, and because you now have a more defined problem in sight, you can now like better have the luxury to brainstorm. Initially on your research stage, you're just gathering information. However, just be entering information, is just entering. But your defined stage has given you a clearer view of that information. Now your ideation stage is since now they now have a defined view of the information and the problem. Your ideation stage is now where you now start making ideas from those defined problems. So that's when you now start getting even more insights. And that is when your creativity now even starts kicking in. And the beauty of ideation stage is no idea is stupid. No matter how silly your ideas sounds, pen it down. There's this video link added to this slide, this ideal video where they were trying to create a new shopping cart. That's a very, 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 very good video to watch about design thinking. I mean, you enjoy it. It's a very, very good video. I think you see it at the last side of the slides. I'll share the slides so you guys can see it. So on that video, you will see how they were just like penning down ideas. Never like discard. If you are working in a team, I would advise us don't just discard people's ideas. Let them still pen it down. Whether if you work or not, pen it down. Because it's so crazy out there that you think something won't work until you get out there and users start using it. You now realize that, okay, we should have fixed this. We should have put this and that. So the beauty of the ideation stage is just pen down your ideas. As they are coming, just be writing it down. Just be writing it down. Yeah, so I think that is all for ideation stage. Is the stage where you get to be creative, right? It's the stage where you start asking yourself the right questions, because now that you now have these defined problems around you, you can now start asking that, okay, how can we now solve this issue of the user having to wake up every morning to get to the bus? Okay, maybe we can solve it by walking on the road, since it is potholes that is causing the traffic, that is causing this user to wake up by this time. So things like that, you even start seeing more problems while you're trying to brainstorm. That is the beauty of this ideation stage. It opens your mind, it opens it a lot. Then the phase 4 is prototype. So in the prototype stage, you start sketching those ideas. So let's say you're trying to, I like giving examples. You are trying to solve the problem of, okay, let me use this problem that used to vex me. I think this, we're trying to solve the problem of a user having to divide this thing on WhatsApp. We want to post videos or maybe anything, maybe videos on WhatsApp. It has to be 30 minutes, right? Another issue with WhatsApp now these days that is very frustrating is when you're trying to even divide those things, it's stressful. You'll be checking that, okay, this thing reach 30 minutes. Let's say you want to post a 5 minutes video, like you're going to waste your time. Then you now start like trying to reduce the 30 seconds. Maybe you're trying to solve that problem, maybe with an app that just helps you to divide everything at once. So in your prototype stage, you can just take a piece of paper. Prototype does not mean that you have to always use Figma or you have to be using Miro. You can put that on a piece of paper. In fact, it's the most inexpensive way to go about it. You pick your paper, you pick your pencil, and you start sketching. It's also a wireframe. They call it paper wireframing. So you start sketching your screen. However it looks, if let it be ugly, don't worry, you understand what you're doing. So you start sketching it. The piece of prototype is you are now seeing your ideas as if they are real, right? Yes, it's just a sketch, maybe a very, very rugged sketch. But now you can like that, your imagination that you have in your head, you're now seeing it on paper. I mean, it's not a must do only paper wireframing. I'm just trying to make you guys understand that it's not a must that you just dive into Figma. And personally, the beauty of paper wireframing is the amount of time you will spend looking at your screen, trying to think of what you will sketch. You can lie down on your bed, pick up a paper and start sketching on the paper, and you can always transfer on your Figma board or whatever wireframing tool you like to use. So that's prototype stage. Prototype stage is very, very inexpensive. Some people actually use prototype stage to test how users feel about their products before they launch. So it even saves the company money. Before your company decides to go into development stage, you can design and create a prototype of the idea you're trying to pitch to them or whatever, and maybe you give it to your stakeholders. Your stakeholders can check how it's going to work for an actual user before they now enter into development. It even minimizes lots and lots of mistakes, because at that stage you've gotten all the feedback you want to get in this life and all the iterations you're supposed to make. So that's the beauty of prototype stage, which still goes back to the definition we made about design thinking. It's so iterative. You get to prototype stage, you go back and forth. I mean, like where I work, we can be on one product for months, but just like prototyping. You say one thing today, after like next, it might not even be that month. Next month, you just hear that so let us change this button. Let us change this form. Let us add this. That's the beauty of this design thinking cycle. It doesn't end. There is no end, which is why like someone said one time, he said that he hates the statement, oh, this is the final product, because there's no final product. The Instagram you're seeing today is not the Instagram that you saw last 3 years, not the Instagram you saw last 10 years. Like the same with Twitter, they've all changed. There's no such thing as final product. It will always evolve. So that is the beauty of design thinking. Design thinking is very iterative. It helps you think. It helps you minimize cost. It helps you, break down complex situations into very, very simpler bits. So that's the beauty of design thinking. Then lastly, when you have a prototype, you will test. So it's the same thing I've been saying anyways. I mean, I think this is very, very clear. Basically, in testing, you get to see your problems. Was it tackled after you had your prototype? You now see that, okay, what this problem tackled. Even in testing, it's not you must test within yourself. You can even test outside. You can test with people. There was this program that I mentored that just ended. I remember when the team finished their prototype, they went out to test amongst themselves and amongst their friends and amongst people they knew in their environment. So they gave the app. The app is not a real app, right? It's just a design app that had them prototyped screens, like screens that already linked together. So like they took it out and they told people to test, and they started realizing certain things like, oh, this button is too below the screen. This user not able to tap this button. That's the beauty of testing. Testing will make you realize problems that you never even know will be there. Like you look at your design is so beautiful, blah blah blah. Then you go to testing and realize that maybe your user cannot tap this screen. The screen is the button is too tiny, or this and that. That's the beauty of testing. So testing will actually show you all those problems that you think were not there, or those things that you solved that you didn't even know that you solved. So that is the beauty of testing. So you can see that they are all connected to each other, which is why I was advising that I personally believe that it's best to follow the processes because they're actually connected, like really, really connected. Even if you jump, you still come back. Like there's no way. Whether you notice it or not, you come back somehow to one of them. So I think we're about done. So this is you know what? Before I even go to that place, let me ask you guys a question. Or rather, you guys ask me a question, then I'll ask you guys my question. So does anyone have any question so far?
Okay, I have a question.
All right. Please, the rest of you just raise up your hand. Do just say I have a question. So the person that say I have a question, please shoot.
Okay, so during this testing stage, do you know that, like you said, during the testing stage, do you know that sometimes we might not be able to detect, like you said, there's no final design. What if probably after you have launched the product, that is when errors comes in? Is there still possible to make a change? Probably you are reaching out to your client that can I fix this and this? Is it polite? Because I feel that the design is infinity. I don't know, did you get? Is there a way that you can actually convince the client that can you fix this bug somewhere? For instance, probably you notice that you want to change a color. It's like the color psychology is not fitting for where you used it for sort of at the point you put it before, and you couldn't get it during the testing period. Is it possible to reach out to do such correction?
So the truth is typically that is how it should be. But we are in Nigeria. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. When even not just Nigeria, in fact, I used to even use my Nigeria because this happens everywhere. It happens a lot. Forget all these big companies you are saying, it happens where a client reaches out to you. Okay, I want you to do this. If I haven't been honest, so they won't pay you for research. So indirectly, you're not even doing your research. You might be doing your research while you are designing. Like it's so crazy. So imagine that kind of client. That kind of client wants to come and tell that you want to add this button. Most of these clients, some of them even understand what is UI UX. If I'm being honest, I remember one client was calling me graphic designer. I'm like, I'm not a graphic designer. I can't even design your logo. I'm a UI UX designer. He kept lament, okay, I'm a graphic designer. Like I had to keep correcting every step of the way. Some of them don't even know what UI UX is. Their own is that they just want to see their products. Some they even interact with the UI UX designer. It's through the developer. Maybe it's the developer that come and hire you that please, so I want to develop this thing. Please come and help my client and come and help me design this stuff that I want to do for the client. So the issue here is, I think, is more of because UI UX is still like, to me, I still see UI as a field that is not yet, has not yet gained so much ground. I mean, let me speak for Nigeria. I don't know about other countries in this context. So there are so many people that don't even know what UI UX is, and there are so many people that just want to build products and just want to launch. That is all. So typically, what this stuff you are saying about, I want to call a client, saying I want to change the button. That is how it should be. It should be normal. Like it should be normalized, to be honest. That's how it should be. But the truth is, it is not always the case. If you're working in a company, it's my work. You can reach out to your boss and say, oh, hello, please, I think we should change this form. This form is not really inclusive, right? Because it's a company, and most companies, they have goals. Most companies, that's why companies are established like startups, right? Maybe they don't understand your concept of UI. I mean, that's why they hired you in the first place. Not like a usual Nigerian client. The truth is, we don't have that all the time, but typically that's how it should be. And in truth, it is possible. Like I said, working in a company, or if you're working with a client that understands this, we have clients that keep people on contracts. Like that's the person they always go to when they want to like make improvement, right? So yes, it's very possible, but because of the environment that we are, we might think it's not possible. But please bear in mind that it's very, very possible. Yeah, I hope I answer your question.
Thank you very much.
All right, Kodri.
Hi, Tolu. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Kodri.
Okay. So basically, my question is, I think that there's low wireframing, there's mid wireframing, and there's a is it high fidelity one? Can you explain the process of everything? And while I'm sketching on paper, am I supposed to, or let me say, is it a must I prototype the way it's going to be on the this thing, where how I'm going to do it on Figma, like the way it's going to function, where this button, once you press this button, where it's supposed to go to, is it a must I do that while I'm doing the prototype, the
Paper.
sketching? And again, is there an app that can be used to do that instead of sketching on a paper?
Okay.
That's my question.
All right. I will start with the whole paper thing. So it actually depends on you. What I've noticed with paper wireframing, most people do paper wireframing for themselves. Like me, I do paper wireframing for myself. Like, let's say I want to design a particular thing on Figma and I'm confused. So I pick up my paper and I start drawing boxes. Because I want to put content. I'm to look so rugged, scattered. Like, I mean, understand what I want to put there, right? So I would just like do like a rugged sketch on my paper. Then I can translate. Or I think I use Samsung Notes. So I sketch on my pen up. Pen up is like this draw kit. There's so many like that. So there's this one I saw. I can't remember. Oh God. I will check for and send to you. So you can, if it's about the old paper thing, you can sketch on your phone like you're sketching on paper. And must I show the this thing on my paper? Yeah, it's fine. I remember there was this workshop that I went for, this design workshop, and there was something like that. I mean, to be honest, we had to design everything, every step of the way, like neatly designed on paper, and we defended it to the whole class. So the truth is, some people allow it. There are some companies that do the whole paper thing, and there are apps that you can use to do wireframes. Like you don't have to do it on paper. There are apps you can even use Miro. On Miro, you can do wireframe. UX Pin, you can do wireframe. Plastic, you can do wireframe. You can wireframe on so many platforms. If you don't want to use Figma to do your wireframe, you can wireframe on Figma, obviously. So there's so many platforms you can use to do the wireframe thing. But for me personally, paper, from what me I've noticed though, most people do a paper wireframe for themselves. That okay, before I transfer to my Figma board, let me first create it on paper. And yes, it's okay to want to put all your transitions, where this will take me to, blah, 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 on your paper. It's fine. It all depends on you and what works for you. Yeah, I think the other question was, so what was the other question? I should tell you the difference between high file wireframing, low file, right?
Yes. Low fidelity, low wireframing, and mid wireframe.
Okay, so what may I consider mid wireframing is when it doesn't have like proper form. Maybe if I find an example, like a link, okay, there are links, I will send it to you guys on the UI UX channel. So like it's when it doesn't have like proper form, like maybe it doesn't have colors, maybe you only have boxes, even for where you want to put text. I think that was the first type of wireframe that I actually learned. You see no text, you just be seeing boxes everywhere. You'll be seeing, even for the header, box post. But the truth is, when you see the form, you will get to know that okay, this is actually a landing page. This is the Euro session. This is the this is the heading text, right? You might not know what is there, but you see it. Then I think the other one is, you said, is low fire. Sorry, mid. So that mid guy, the mid is the one where you start seeing text. You might even, some people in their mid wireframes, they used to put icons. But me personally, sometimes I just put icons in my mid wireframe. I'll just put boxes to signify the icons should be here. But yeah, you start seeing text, you start seeing buttons, like actual buttons, small. Then your hi-fi, your eye-fi is actually when you now see colors. Nobody call it eye-fi. All of them are wireframe. Even your prototype, the prototype stage where you start designing colors is also a wireframe. It's just called eye-fi. And because many people like to see a wireframe as just sketches. So I see people say, "Oh, this is my design." It's still wireframe. It's eye-fi wireframe. So your eye-fi prototype is where you start seeing the buttons, like the full thing. Sure. That's where you start seeing the whole text, buttons, colored icons, like you start seeing it in its full color, the actual color that you want to deliver. So that is the difference. I hope that is clear. Hello, was that clear?
Yes, it is. Thank you
Right.
so much, Tolu. Thanks.
Yeah. I think next person is Emmanuel. Emmanuel. Okay, I think Emmanuel. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. Yes, so I just want to understand something about the process of UX, design thinking, and UX life cycle. So is design thinking a process used to achieve the life cycle of a US or process of UX? Do you understand my question?
Yes. I think
Okay,
I understand your question. I will answer it in the way I understand, then you can always let me know if I did the answer. All right. So, like I mentioned from the very beginning, design thinking is encompassing. It's not a UI UX thing. It's so many industries thing. You see it in even architecture. They use UI UX in so many industries. And they use they use design thinking in so many industry. Even UX. Have you seen something like I think CS, customer experience? It's the same as user experience. It's just for that industries they call their people consumers or customers. Do you get? So you see that UX, user experience, design thinking, those things have always existed in one way or the other. Despite that design thinking has been existing since. I think it was one scientist that used the word for the first time. I've forgotten his name. So design thinking is not a UI UX thing. It's just a process used to actualize so many things, but it has been so owned in quotes, please, by the UI UX industry, because that is what we use to solve our problems typically. Like it's always the way, right? So the design thinking approach is what helps us to get to the whole, go through the whole life cycle, get to the point, blah blah blah. It's design thinking.
Okay. Now I get. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. So just to
further
clarify, UX life cycle, the process of UX, they are the same thing.
Yes, they are the same thing. Is this like phases? Phases is simply was the stage. Phases means stages in which you take to maybe to achieve something or whatever. That is the same thing as life cycle. It's not different words. Some people will use stages, some people use phase, some people use life cycle, but it's mostly phases and stages you see. So it's the same thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, just use of words. Yeah. Chidera.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, everyone. Fellow mentor, I just wanted to chip in on something. Is that okay?
Sure.
I've forgotten his name. He asked about how to go back and tell the client that you want to change the color, how to deal with situations like that. So I think from my experience, or what I would say is that is why you have this design thinking process. Like you rightly said, some clients don't fully understand design. They just want you to put out something for them. They'll collect it and they'll go, right? So they don't even know all the processes you personally pass through to come up with that design. So what you can do is, if you do your research, for example, and find out that some things could be better, you could present the research to the client. There's a difference between, hi, we need to change this button to red, and hi, I did this research, these are the results, and this is why we need to change the button to red. So I feel like a reasonable client will look at, your research or your thought process around that change, and they will be more open, to making that change. So that's probably how you can go about it. That's what I want to say.
Yes, very true. Just that's what Chidera said. Which is why that question, I think somebody asked the question of, must we go through this thing? Can't we jump it? This is why I said I would advise that you go through it. I mean, someone that did research that can defend why they want to even do something. And in doing research, there's high chance that you might not miss, I want to do this button. Apart from doing research, it is in testing your prototype that you get to realize that maybe this button cannot be tapped. So let me increase the size. Do you get what I'm saying? Which is why it's very important. Can we just keep this? I would typically advise, don't skip. It will minimize so many back and forth. It will minimize so many, can I change it? It doesn't mean that can I change it might not arise. But yes, because you've already gone through the whole design thinking process, you not even have an idea of what you are dealing with, then you can defend your reason for even wanting to change anything. Like Chidera said, you cannot just go and say, I want to change something. There has to be a reason. Like I mentioned during research, in research, you ask your why. Research, UI actually teaches you how to give reasons for something. You don't do things for doing sake. You do things with reasons. There must be a reason behind doing something. I don't think you just do things for doing sake. So in UI UX, there's always a reason behind something. You have to be able to back up your stuff with data and reasonable facts of why you carried out something. So thank you very much, Chidera, for that input. Chidera, did you just want to say something? You had this up.
Oh no. Sorry.
Okay. Carrie. Carrie.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
There's just one simple question I want to ask, because I've observed that the basic app or software you've been talking about is Figma. So I want to know, what are the major differences between Figma and XD?
Okay. I don't think I have like concrete answer, like lots of answers to that. I mean, I started with XD. No, I started with Figma. Then I started with XD. I don't Figma like for a long time. Then I moved back to Figma. Figma, once I looked at that Figma is mostly used by organizations. Typically, when you go to organizations, you see Figma. From my own experience too, and from the experience of people that I have around me, it's mostly Figma that these companies use because it's good for collaboration, unlike XD. Because one issue I found, I mean, many people have done like comparisons. You can always go to Google to search the difference why people prefer Figma to XD, or just normal comparison between Figma and XD. And one thing I noticed is that the popular comment on it is collaboration. So it's easy to collaborate on Figma. I mean, typically you have to work in teams, you have to work with people, and you have to hands off to developer. Figma's hands off is way easier than XD. This article by Pelumi Adeyemi, I will not look for it and send to you guys. I think it's the best it's the best article to read on that, because Pelumi has always been using XD like back to back for years. Pelumi has been using XD guy. So it was shocking for me to see when Pelumi switched to Figma. Same with I think Tolu Saba, but I don't think Tolu Saba is an article. He was using Sketch. Then he switched to Figma. Because Figma is very good for collaboration. So I think that is one thing I know that makes them stand as personally to me. And another thing I like about Figma is that they're always improving. Like you always see one new thing that they've added, like that makes your work easier. I think that one made me stick to Figma is the way they improve. Like there's this rapid improvement. They are always working on adding something that makes designers' life easier. So yes, that is my own personal view. I don't know if any of the mentors have something else to say on that. Mentors, have anything to say on the Figma Adobe XD thing?
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Okay. Thanks for this talking.
Hello, good evening.
All right, good evening.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So like she said, like Tolu said, the main difference between Figma and XD is the collaboration. Now, another reason why, for me, I prefer XD to Figma, it's because you can work without internet when you're using XD. You can also collaborate with XD, but it's very more expensive. Then one major thing why people prefer Figma to XD is the fact that you can use any system for Figma. You don't need a high system as a starter. Instead of thinking of getting a very good system, if you don't have money and you want to start UI UX, you can start with Figma, because if you're using a system, once you can access the internet, you can go with it. That's why most people use Figma to exit. But if when it comes to in terms of every other thing, I don't see any difference between Figma and Exit. You can also collaborate with Exit, although it's very more expensive. The person you're sharing your work with should also be using Exit. That's just the difference. For me, it's expensive. Figma is less expensive to use.
Yes, and about that internet issue on Figma now, when you work on Figma with that internet, it's backs it up for you. So whenever you come, whenever you on your internet, whenever you feel like it will bring it back, and it will sync rather. Yeah, it will sync. So I think Figma, it was before I know that Figma, I was always scared because sometimes when you don't have internet, stay there because there was no version control there, but now there's version control. You can always a version history. You can always even go back to the first version or something of your work. There's that version history on Figma. You cannot work with that internet, but it will not save. You have to have your internet first to save. So that is that. So yeah, we now have that now on Figma. So I think another person is talking about the Figma thing. Kerry, does that answer your question? You still have something else to say? I can see you and still hope. Kerry, can you hear me? I think she can't hear me. Okay, Bami Femi, please, your question.
All right, good evening, man. Thank you so much for the class so far. So my question is about it makes sense from empathy to prototype, but when it gets to test, I really have a problem with it because when I hear testing, I usually think, okay, when they finally code the app and people can see how it works. But testing UX or UI design, I really don't know. Can you explain more? Okay. How do we test it? Is there like apps to test or website or I don't know?
Okay, so for the testing, I don't know about XD. I'm going to use Figma example again. Anyway, I use XD. I think it's more that way post with that. Okay, so for testing, yes, you can test your designs. It doesn't have to develop for you to test your design. When you design, for instance, on your maybe Figma or XD, you can link your screens. You can link your buttons in such a way that when you put it in prototype, when you click on, maybe you click on step A, it takes you to step B. Like, the normal way you use an app now. Like a designer can literally design Instagram right now, and you will test it on your phone. You will think you're actually using it, but the truth, you're not using it. It's just prototyped. I don't know if any of you use After Effects. People do all these kind of things before, even before the whole Figma thing. They used to do it very well with all this Adobe products a lot. They do it where you see things playing out on your screen. So that is what Figma and all these things are doing. You prototype your design and you can play it on phone. For Figma now, they have what is the name of this app? It's on Google, it's on Google Play. I don't know if it's on iOS. You can check.
Figma
Just
Mirror.
download.
Figma Mirror.
Yes, God bless you. Figma Mirror. If you have Figma Mirror, you can now play your designs. You don't even have to, once you have your design on your phone, because the new Figma Mirror, that one that they were saying that, okay, for easy access, blah, blah, limit, it's still there. The easy access is still working. So you just go there and you play your prototype. It is in two groups. You see files and you see prototype. When you click on prototype, you see your screen playing out on your phone. So you can actually test your app on your phone device. So you display on your phone device as if it's real. And if it's prototype, you can be tapping your screen as if you are using it. So yes, you can actually test your designs. Very, very possible. It doesn't have to develop for you to test your designs at all. Even in wireframing, when you just sketch your wireframe, like when you don't even have colors and all of that, you can still do it very well. Like that stuff I told you about the workshop I went for where they did their sketch on paper and they were linking the screens. So the difference between that was that instead of you pressing screens, they had a very, very like large paper on the wall, right? and this person is saying, okay, this is where the user, this is the cart. I think the person was we did the cart, yes. This is the cart. So now the user has come from here to here, and the user is trying to check out what she bought. Okay, now the user has inserted their card details, that kind of thing. That is still testing. Funny enough, that is still testing. Testing is not only when you're clicking screens. When you do your whole sketch and you are presenting to your stakeholders or whoever is in charge or whoever you're trying to present to, you are actually still testing, right? So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Olaleye.
Okay, ma. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, I think Boma actually explained that in the last class. When she used a red button and a blue button, that is, when she did a little of wireframing, and she clicked on the red button, then it went to the other
Yes,
screen.
God bless you.
Yeah, she actually explained that. So it's just like sometimes when I just sketch on my book, I'll actually take that. Okay, if I'm the user, if I click on this, it's actually going to this and it's going to that. So that's just more or less like testing. Doesn't actually becomes when it has to do with the app creation like that.
Thank you, Olaleye. That's very true. Damina.
Yep, I'm here. Hi, good evening.
Sorry, hold on. If you don't have any other question, if your hands were raised before, please just drop it down. I think things confusing me small.
Oh,
Whatever,
okay, hold on.
Not you.
Okay.
You can go ahead with your question.
Thank you. Good evening. Sorry, I'm going to take you back just a little bit. I think
It's
not
fine.
somebody asked a question that is similar to what I wanted to ask, but I'm not sure she asked. I don't know. I had a network glitch that time. I'm very sorry. Okay, so she said something about correction. I don't know if that's what she said. For example, like I'm new to tech, I'm new to this design thing and everything. For example, if I'm writing something, let's say I'm writing for someone or I'm writing an article or something, and when I'm done, I publish my article. And then somewhere, I discover that there's a mistake that I did not see when I was proofreading my article, and I published it like that. But in most cases, there's always an opportunity for me to go back and edit what I wrote. So like if I make the same mistake with design, let's say, for example, I designed a product, and somehow maybe clicking something does not work or something. Is correction possible like after I've already put out the work?
Okay, so it depends on the stage. This is why testing is important. If you're still in the testing stage, as you've not yet launched your product, you're still in the testing stage, and you guys are testing, then get to see those errors. I mean, there's still room for corrections. That's why that testing stage is important. The truth is, testing stage it actually cobs you of errors a whole lot, because you're using it like a real user. That's why it's always advisable that you don't just test within yourselves. That is what they call, I think that is a term for that. I think dog fooding. Dog fooding is when you test your own stuff yourself, right? Like when you test within your team, people that created studies, you tested your product by yourself. So it's best to go and test with people that have no idea about your products, like they were not there when you were building, like actual users. So I think the best way to cope this kind of issues is through testing. Now, in a situation where they've already launched, the truth is, it depends on the person that you're working with. I mean, in this situation, it's not the same with the question that person asked. That person was asking a situation where he or she realizes that, okay, this button, he feels that this button should be changed after he did some research. That's a different scenario. This scenario is maybe it was an error on your own part. Then this one is like a different issue. That's to do with you and maybe the employer or the clients in this case, and you have to give them reasons for it. Of course, there's always have to be reasons. So in this case, it's more of an error than I realized this from research. right? So I would just say that testing is very important. Always do your testing, because you will find that errors. The errors that you're finding out after you launch, you probably find it when you did testing than having to find out at that stage. Yeah, that is my answer. But
Okay.
yes.
Yes, thank you very much. I have another question. Let's say, for example, you design a product. Is it like a lifetime thing that people can keep using? For example, you want to make payments for most products or courses online, and you are redirected to their payment page. Let's say, for example, they are using Paystack. That Paystack page that people usually see when they want to make payment. You just enter your email address, your name, and everything, and the amount that you're going to pay is mostly already there. Is it like do you have to keep hosting or renewing that page or something? Or when you do it once, it's just there and they can just.
Can I take your question again? Please take your question again.
Thank
My
you. Okay,
low battery actually sorry.
I was asking that, for example, we want to pay for a product or a service online, and you are redirected to their payment page. Let's say, for example, they are using Paystack, because most of them use Paystack. That's like an example of a design, right? Like that payment page that you land on when you click. So like that's, first of all, that's an example of like a design, right? Like something a UI UX designer does.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So for example, you will land on that page, and then usually the amount that you're supposed to pay is already entered there. So you just enter your email address and other needed information. So like, and every time you want to pay for a product and the vendor or the company is using Paystack, you always land on that page, like it's already there. So my question is, for the designer that designed that payment page, is it like you just do it once and the user can use it to whenever, or you have to keep maybe hosting it or like checking up on it whether it's working or not or something?
Okay, so you're saying that once you've designed something, I'm trying to understand it now generally. You're saying that once you've designed something, do you have to keep checking that it is working?
Yeah, I'm saying that once you design it, as in, what's the lifespan of a design? Good, that's my question. What's the lifespan of a design? Can they keep using it till whenever?
No, I don't think so. That's why I said there's no such thing as final product. I don't believe in that. There's no such thing as final product, and that's why I gave the example that the even the Figma you're seeing today, Figma was not always like this. So I won't lie to you. I was Team XD before Team Figma by far, way by far. So when Figma started adding some updates that was making my life easier, that I started switching to Figma, and maybe because due to the fact that I wanted jobs now, and companies mostly use Figma, I started switching to Figma. So Figma was not less like this. It was annoying for me before. Same with Instagram. Instagram was not less like this. Twitter was not less like this. Design does not stop. It grows. It doesn't stop, because just like human beings grow, design has to grow as well. And human beings, their taste changes, and you have to move with the tide. So you can't just be stuck. Like you can't just say, I've designed this product, that is the end. So no, I don't believe in that. Your design doesn't just stop. There will always be something to improve on.
Okay, thank you.
That's your question.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask someone that's not students in Victoria.
Hello. Good evening. Please, can I come in here?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So you see, that's why you are not the user of your products, but the outside people that are using it. Those people outside are the users. Now, that's why most times when they complain about a particular thing, for instance, I designed this thing and you see the review about it is not very good. There's room for improvement. At that point, you take these people's review and put it into consideration and redesign your project. So that's why most times you see redesigned pages. Some clients might just call you, okay, this is my former website, I want you to redesign. So in everything we design, there's actually room for improvement. As you go on the journey, you find out that there are recent trends in UI UX design. So as technology is upgrading, so your design should also upgrade. And you take like I said, reviews from clients, from users to improve on your designs at every point. You don't need to keep that design for ages before you change on it. Once you get an important review from this user and you think it's okay, you can review it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Boma.
Okay, yeah, but let's say the client is very comfortable with, okay, like that payment page I'm talking about, like it's not something that needs like any beautification or anything. It's just there, enter your email address and then click on pay now and everything. Let's say the client is very satisfied with that design. Does design have expiry dates?
No, it's still the same thing that Boma is saying.
Okay.
Design does not.
Okay.
Lale.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I think this is actually dragging a bit. So let me put it like this to the person who asked the question. Take it this way: design has expiry dates, okay, and it expires when the owner of the design, like the owner of that product, deems it necessary for a change to occur. Is that fine? Okay, so the life cycle of a design is dependent on when there is a need for change. Okay, that makes it a bit more easier because like they have actually rightly said, you can leave a design as long as possible, but Boma talked about reviews. So if you do a design, your design is being done for someone and you put it up there, there are users. If the users if there's no feedback, okay, they feel, okay, everything is fine. But the moment that people start giving in comments and options and your client sees the need to make changes, then you can actually say that your design has expired since you want to use the term, because I can see you're more particular about expiry dates. So yes, a design can expire and it is dependent on when there is a need for change. Okay, so I think that's just to try to meet everybody on the same the same place.
Yeah, I think we should be to work with that. But let me add something, that change is not just dependent on what you hear from your users. I think there was an example I listed here on, I think I called it A/B testing. So Instagram does this a lot. Official A/B testing is maybe you give two people, like let's say you give Nigerians a certain feature to use, and you give maybe people in the United States a certain feature to use, where people in Nigeria get another feature. So A/B testing, you just launch like a feature, right? And these two different people are using two different things. Then you get to see the way they interact with it. Just in A/B testing, you might not even get insights from the user before you did that testing. You just added that feature because you think it's a nice to have. Maybe when I told you that someone taught me one thing called vitamins are nice to have. So when that person that think, oh, this thing will be good for users. Maybe they did not complain about it, but it feels to be nice for them to have this. And if everything works out fine in your A/B testing, you find out that, oh, they actually liked this. Then you find out that they actually like, who is writing on the page? Then you find out that they actually liked it, right? So I don't think change is dependent on just what your users said. Hey, how would I clean this thing? Please, you guys stop writing on this thing. Okay, someone is writing from Zoom, I think it's from Zoom. Yeah, it's from Zoom. White, whatever it's called, a whiteboard. Okay, so yeah, it's not just dependent on them, but I think what he said is should be able to, I think it gives a clearer picture, right, Victoria?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Today I'm joining this class for the first time, so I want to be cleared on something. I've been hearing Figma, I've been hearing SD. So I want to ask, if I want to start creating, like if I want to start my design, what's the platform to start doing the designs? Is it this Figma or the XD? So I just want to know what platform is used for the design.
If you want to even start a design, you have to understand what you're trying to design in the first place. So you have to do research I think that's not the question you're asking, but also I should just clear that. Don't just jump into Figma and start doing stuff. But about the Figma is it, I think we already answered that like countless of times. It's just depending on your preference. I mean, Boma looks very comfortable with our XD. I look comfortable with Figma, right? So there are people using XD and they're using it well. They're using Figma and they're using it well. So it just depends. It depends on your preference.
No,
Right.
what I'm
So I think
asking
that is
are the platforms like to start whatever you want to do. For instance, if you want to do web development, you start with your HTML. So I just like asking how to
okay.
start.
If that is what you're asking, then that is what we just taught today. When you want to start your design, you start with the design thinking process. And the design thinking process asks you to start with empathy. And what empathy is asking you to do is research. So what you start with is research. You start with research because you have to understand what you are doing now. Let me put it this way: when the client gives you something to do, gives you a problem to solve, one of the first things you do is to ask your clients question. The truth is, as much as we don't see this a lot, that is actually research in its own way. You're asking your clients certain questions to understand what it's asking you to do. You actually perform like subtle research. You ask them questions, why this? What? How? So your client has told you what is. So it's very important for you to have a clear picture of what your client is telling you, so that you cannot carry out that like the actual research that you want to carry out with your user. So of course you're going to start with research. That is how it works in design. In design, it's not HTML, CSS. It is
Okay, so
research.
after this process of your design thinking, and you are now with an idea, so how do you now start actualizing this your ideas?
Yeah, this is where you start actualizing it. Can you see number 3 is the ideation. That is what you just mentioned. And number 4 is your prototype. This is how you start actualizing. You actualize it by sketching your idea. You can sketch on paper first. You can go ahead to sketch on Miro or Figma. And I think let me give you guys this example. To actualize your idea, you don't have to start drawing screens. It's not a must that you jump into screens. You can actualize your idea by drawing what do you call it, user journey, right? I don't want to say these things now because your next class is going to be on user prototype. You're going to do a lot of empathy mapping. Like you're going to start mapping out ideas. That's when you start seeing this, how am I going to do my idea, right? Okay. This is just brushing the topics, yes. So you can do that by actually drawing your user journey or your user steps. Okay, this is what the user will do. You'll take this step to get here. You'll take this step to get here before you start drawing your screen. So it doesn't have to be a web interface that you're sketching or a phone first. You can start by just drawing out the steps. Do you get what I'm saying? Yes. Like have you seen a sitemap before? How do you draw a sitemap? Yes, you can draw it that way, something like that. Yes, so something like that. But some people, they won't do that on their paper. You see them just putting arrows. Okay, point A, point B, point C. You get that kind of stuff. So it's not a must. I just have to clear that in case you are thinking that you have to draw screen first. You can always do the whole user journey flow first. But you see all of that in the next class.
Okay.
Who has not talked at all? Everybody I'm seeing here, they've talked before. Okay, this person not talk. Kosi. After Kosi, we'll take Olamide.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I would like to add to the Figma and XD part of things. I think it's down to personal preference, actually. I think for me, Adobe is quite easier than Figma. Figma is also easy. I think the other feature, sorry, I'm on the road, actually. I think other features you'll find in the Figma are also on the Adobe. They just started adding prices and payments to Adobe recently. Adobe was extremely free right from the very start. So I think it's down to personal preference and I think another major thing that will make people want to go into Figma more is that now your employers or your recruiters actually want you to have the Figma experience or the Figma skill. They want you to be good in Figma because of collaborations. I think that it's quite easier on collaborations for Figma and XD. Okay, but aside that, my question is now, if you're given like an already made project for you to work on as a designer, yes, you have to do some researches, ask questions, surveys, and all of that. But I think there are also analytical tools that you can use on an already made app or website that would help you to like, okay, get some other research you might not be able to get from your surveys and your questionnaires and all of that. Can you can you sorry?
Who is that? Yeah, continue to be.
Yeah, can you like give us examples of those kinds of tools that can be used aside your normal surveys, questionnaires, all of that?
Okay, so me, I don't know what to say about tools. Maybe someone else should do that. But I think I get where you're coming from in that area. I mean, even Apple's, even if when you are working in a company that has lots of products to do, they will just throw it at you. Which research are you doing? Most times, it's like you're working in this fast-paced. We are working so fast-paced that what you are doing is launch test. We do launch test with you. I mean, I'm in that situation. I've been in that situation a lot. So yes, there are cases like that. Someone has this question, and I think I mentioned this, that yes, there are cases where it happens this way, but you always find yourself going back. For instance, yes, you decided to just go ahead to design, Abby. Then you got feedback. That feedback that you got is a subtle research. You got that feedback, then decided to work on it. Right? You got research by the user actually using your work. So you still went through the whole design thinking process. Now about the tools, I don't know about tools, but one thing I know that I do is I check existing products. The truth is there's nothing new under the sun. Whatever you're doing, there's a high chance that someone has already done it. You check existing products to see how it's done. And you can go through Play Store to see what people are saying, people are having issues with. Then you yourself try to use the product. That is the best thing. Use products. When you want to design something and you know that someone has done something like that before, use the product and try to see how it feels. From there, you've already got some insights. You've even gone a mile ahead because someone's already able to do the work, in quotes. Someone's already able to do the work. I mean, I do that a lot. Then there's this platform, Mobbing.design. Mobbing.design, I will drop it on Slack. Mobbing.design is a directory of various apps, tons of apps. They screenshotted almost all the pages of each app. So you can always search per category. I think there's another one, pattern.design or something. So they do the same thing. So in case you don't have all the space in these words, downloading apps and testing by yourself, you can just go to Mobbing.design or use a pattern.design. Yeah, so that is my own approach to that. Yeah, that's my own approach to that. If anyone has any comment on that, mentors, please shoot. But does that answer your question in some way, Toby?
Yes, it does. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. I think Olamide has not talked. We'll soon jump from this phase. So I'm supposed to conclude soon. So yeah. We have 20 minutes, about 25. Yes. 20 minutes. Yes. I think I said Olamide should ask a question. Yes, Olamide, I can hear you.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. I want to talk about the two people that asked about if you can correct your design.
No, Olamide, can you hold on for a minute? Let the moderator mute whoever is making this noise. IK, can you mute everybody? Olamide, go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to talk about the two people that have asked about if you can change something on your design.
Okay, sure.
Giving it to the clients. Okay, we just launched our website where I'm working now, and after the launching, we noticed some difficulties customers are having. So now what we do is we go back to the developer or the guy that fixed it, and he does changes per time. So I think my question now is, if we can go back to the person that delivers to us directly, I mean the web developer, is it possible for the UX UI designer to work with the web developer also? like when after giving it to the developer, while the person is developing, if the person notices some itches and all that, the person can just get back to the UX UI designer and they fix it together. The same way we as the we as the person getting the final product of the website and all go back to the developer. I don't know if you understand my question.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I mean, if I understand your question. So in a context where you got to realize that, okay, there's an issue somewhere when you've already launched. So the company goes back to the developer. So you're asking that, is there a way that the designer can work with the developer in that situation?
Yes.
So yes, definitely.
Okay.
That's how it works, actually. That's how it should work. That's why you see we kept mentioning collaboration, and mention hands off, like developer hand off. It's beyond just designing and dumping it. And that's why I think Bowman mentioned something in last class when someone was saying that must we learn this, must we learn front end, and she was like, at least understand a little bit about them. So there's one thing that I realized: once you start working, if you've already started working with developers, or when you even start working, you start seeing yourself actually understanding their own world. Like it just happens naturally because you're already working, like you've been working hand in hand. You start understanding their own world. And the beauty of going to the developer is that you're trying to understand their constraints. Let's say you want to launch something now, want to change something now. Can that developer actually create that thing now? What's this person's stack? Is it possible? Are there constraints to this developer? That is the beauty of collaboration. It's very important for designers and developers to be in sync so that you create designs that a developer can recreate rather. So that is the beauty of going back to developers. The truth is, even at my place, I try my best to reach out to developers. Okay, guys, this is what I want to do with this work. And by and by, start understanding the constraints of your developers and what they're capable of doing, and you design alongside them. Because when it comes to things like this, design, let's see this, like designers have like lots of pressure on them because they're the one that's determining how something is going to work. So you can't just go overboard, knowing fully well that maybe your developer cannot execute this thing in time, or maybe they have certain constraints, which is why you find them always going to developer. So I think that's why it's like this in this case. I mean, it happens at my side too a lot. You go to developer so that you can understand if, okay, how is this going to work? At the end of the day, yes, you can design heaven and earth. It's a developer that brings it to life. So you have to work, you have to be in sync with them. So I hope that answers your question. I'm only going to take 2 more questions, then we round off and I ask my own question. I will see share favor.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I just want to contribute to what the last person said. Like, and you talked about you working together with your developer.
Yes.
I feel you should. I think when you work together with your developer, and again, I feel that's why there's something like wireframing and everything. That once you, like your high fidelity wireframe, once you do everything, even if you've not designed the main thing yet, like show your clients what you've done, like on paper. Like it might not be on paper, it might be on Figma, so that this is it. If they have any adjustments, if they want you to add some things, and if they want to remove some things from it, I feel they should tell you before you now make the final designs. Then I feel there should be no problem after the main thing. I don't know.
Yeah, she has a point. Like that is your point of your prototype. That helps to minimize plenty things. Thank you. I'll share so that you're even listening safe. Edith Young, if Young. Yes, she haven't said anything. I have been absent, sorry. Edith Young.
Hello, good evening.
Yes.
Hello.
I can hear you.
So I want to ask the difference between prototype and wireframe.
Okay, prototype. The truth is, prototype is everything. Just like what I was saying about how people like saying prototype instead of wireframe. I mean, it's still the same thing, but I don't know. It's just like how people want to buy detergent. Since you don't buy detergent, you don't want to buy Omo, or you want to buy rice. You still want to buy Gala. As if Gala is the only beef roll in Nigeria. You get that kind of stuff. So prototype, wireframe. Wireframes are actually prototypes. What is the meaning of prototype? Prototype is when you create something that looks like the original. That is the meaning of prototype. So wireframe, what does wireframe looks like? It looks like what? Something that looks like the original. And wireframes can be hi-fi, lo-fi, and maybe a mid wireframe. So all of them are actually one name. It's prototype. It's just this terminology. It's the same with this. Who is a UI developer? He's a front-end developer. They're almost doing the same thing. It's just terminologies. So it's just wordplay. So yeah, don't have to worry yourself about that.
Hello.
Hi, Dara.
Yeah, I just want to add to that quickly. So currently, like in recent times, people can also refer to prototype as like the movable part of wireframe. Do you get? So when you put all those blocks and lines together and they start moving, and there's some animation or interaction, then some people can now refer to that as prototype. I'm just providing like further context. But yeah, you're right about like wireframes are still prototype. Last.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, just so that people will get your point, right? Just like what I said, how people will say Omo, they will not say detergent, they will rather say Omo. So people rather say prototype for those movable screens than for them to say wireframe, because there's this idea in people's head that when they hear wireframe is this low version of things, and the truth is all of them are wireframe. But let's keep playing the game. All right, I think that is all. Carrie, your hand is still up. I think I've answered your question, Abby.
Okay, I have other questions to ask.
Okay, after this, nobody should ask again.
Okay, so yes, for UI UX,
yeah,
just like for example, web developers, I think there's this after they've developed a particular website or something, there's this login detail that they have to themselves that sometimes they share to the client when it comes to editing or doing anything back end. So for UI UX, does it work the same way? Is it that sometimes is there a particular link or login that is held on to the designer in case if there's anything to be done extra or whatsoever, like the corrections people have been talking about? And another thing, yes, for the Figma and exiting I was asking of earlier, for instance, some raw files that you can access on Illustrator, there's a way you could always transfer them to take it down to Photoshop for graphic design and still work on it. It still remains as an Illustrator file, and you can always also take it to Photoshop and still re-edit or do whatever you want to do with it and still save. So relating that to XD and Figma, is it also possible to do such a thing that you can just take out your design from XD, place it on Figma, and still have access to working on it?
Okay, let me start your first question. Where you're talking about the whole login thing, when the developer develops, so we have this login thing that you can have access to as a client. So for UI UX, our own is our design tool, Figma or XD. That is where your clients will actually test. For some people, they don't like giving their clients, I mean, it depends on the clients. They don't give their clients what would I call it now? That place where you do your designs. There's the prototype when you press play to prototype your design, where your design actually plays. So that prototype, like what this girl explained there. So that prototype place is what most people try to share with their clients. So because any prototype, the client is just interacting with it as if it's real. For instance, there was this client I had, he didn't have know how to use the main workspace where you design everything. So it's having issues like moving board, on that page. Yes, the board. Thank you. He had issues moving on the board. So the best thing for him was to be sharing the prototype itself. It was already prototype, already linked. So his own was just to test that it's working. And you can always drop comments your prototype. For us, we don't have all those login this, login that. We mostly use Figma. Another approach you can use is I always create like 2 designs. One for my clients and one for me, because I don't want stress, right? Sometimes I hate when there's so many people on my board. So sometimes I have a dump out where it's just for me. That's where I'm playing around. I can always copy and paste it on the screen when I'm ready. On the actual screen that the clients gets to see when I'm ready. So that's how I do mine. Then for the whole export stuff, I think I've done that like sometimes where you export XD to Figma. But I think it comes as SVG. That was the issue I had. I've not done it recently. So I don't know if there's anyone that's done it recently that can help me out with that. But yeah, when you paste it, it will come out as SVG. Then so you still have to like kind of rearrange your stuff. Yeah, you still have to kind of rearrange it.
Okay, all right. Thank
But
you.
has anyone done it recently? You can just help me with that. Yeah, we're almost running off. Time don't go. So I wanted to ask my own question. That was what I wanted to use to end everything. It looks like everybody understands. Like I like you guys' questions. It makes sense. You guys really followed. I want like from everything that we've said, I want just 5 persons. Raise up your hand. What do you think is the essence of design thinking? What do you think is the importance of design thinking? Let's mention one each. All right, the wicked, go. It's your name. The wicked. Reminding me of that movie. Yeah, the wicked shoots. The wicked, though. I think we already have 5 persons. That's enough.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
So good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think the importance of design thinking is to ensure that the needs of the user is met. Everything about design is circulated around the user. So the process is a structure to ensure that the needs of the user is met.
All right, thank you. Olaleye, let's go. Just one.
Yeah.
Not the same thing another person has said, by the way. That is the rule. You must say something different.
Okay, yes, ma. Okay, it enables you to think about, like, to carry out your user research and all those things, so that you just don't jump into softwares and design without carrying out tasks to know what the user needs and all sort of that, and to just avoid change this color, change that color, change this and change that. I think that's all.
All right. Thank you. Abejide.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
The whole essence of design thinking is to reduce costing.
Nice. Thank you. Bamifemi. I don't know if I pronounced it. I'm sorry.
I was going to talk about the costing, but I think I'm just going to go with it makes you to design actual products that can solve problems. When you go through all these stages, then you'd most likely solve the problem other than just go and just design something.
All right, thank you. Williams. William. Good evening.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think the essence of design thinking helps you to avoid trial and error, and also to help you know what steps to follow to adequately get your work done.
Thank you, Karim. I know that some of you raise up your hand and more than 5, but yeah, Karim, should.
Yeah, sorry. I feel like it helps to make usage easy for the users, right? They are able to navigate through your products without being held by the hand, right? Because they have been, the design has been modeled after their demands, what they actually need. So, yeah.
Okay. I think I'll just take 2 more persons, so I don't call you no vex. Edoziona Ijeoma. I like your name.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Design thinking also helps in broadening your knowledge. Like your knowledge gets broadened about that particular product that you are trying to design about. Yeah.
All right, so I will just take goodness. You've been talking since, and let me ask Dami. Sorry, if talked today, Dami has not said anything. Dami, please give me your answer. Sorry, goodness. Sorry, I will say put your hand down. Yes, Dami, please give me your answer. Me to round off. Thank you.
Okay, so it makes me. I don't want to waste my time. So because I don't want to waste my time, the design thinking process will make it faster for me. I want to create something usable, something useful, and make the life of the person that is using the app easy. So that process will do that for me.
All right. Thank you guys so much. This was very interactive. I loved it. Like really loved it. You guys are the best. And you guys gave all like very nice answers. This is everything. You guys actually like kind of touched everywhere except I don't think anyone mentioned clients requirements. And yeah, I think that's the only thing. And the facilitating innovative thinking, because design thinking makes you create. Right. So I think we've come to the end of the class. I will share the slides in case you don't have it. Yes.
Yeah, hope we got the slide in Slack because I missed.
Yeah, I'm dropping it immediately after this stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
so
thank you.
yeah, and in the slides you see further reading. This is the video I told you about. You guys are going to love this video. I love this video, so maybe I'm being biased, but yeah, the video is very nice. It's going to open your mind. You're going to think. Yes. So you guys, even if you don't know anything, at least watch this video, right? So I think that is all. Thank you guys so much for your time, for the audience, and for the interaction. I had a good time. Thank you, and God bless you.
Hello.
God bless you, ma.
Yes, what do you want to say?
Okay, everyone. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tolu. That was actually a wonderful one. So everyone who joined the class, so your task will be dropped soon. So just make sure you're active on Slack. Look out for information. Look out for notification. Check the resource channel, and please use the Ask a Mentor channel if you're having any issues. So thank you very much. Your next class is on Thursday. Okay, make sure you're there and have a wonderful night.